Hello everyone. We're going to be starting something a bit new, and this is division. And we're going to be learning division in kind of a brand new way than your parents have learned it, or maybe you've been shown it before. This is called the forgiving method of division. The best thing about the forgiving method of division is that you get to use your estimation skills to help you solve division. You get to use what you already know to help you solve what you don't. So, you'll see a lot of division problems written like this. 86 divided by 5 equals something. When we do the forgiving method of division, we rewrite the problem to make it look like this. We put a 5 on the outside. Now, many of your parents will have seen it where it will look like this. When you see a problem that looks like this, 86 divided by 5, okay, all you're going to do is simply go ahead and extend this line just a little bit. And I'm going to explain why here in a minute. So let's go ahead and I'll give you a minute to write this down. So go ahead and pause the video. Now, for this first one, I want you to just watch and listen. You don't need to write anything down. I just want you to watch and listen. The best part about the forgiving method of division is that you can use what you already know to help get this number 86 down to a more manageable number, to something that you better understand. So, when I think about the number 5 and I think about the number 86, I think to myself, how many times will 5 go into 86? Well, I really don't know that off the top of my head, but I do know some very simple multiplication problems that will help me knock this 86 down. So I immediately think that I know that, well, 5 times 10 is 50. Now that's not up to 86, but I do know that 5 times 10 is 50. So I'm going to put a 10 over here. 5 times 10 is 50. I'm going to subtract that 50 from the 86, and I end up with 36. Now I can say, how many times does 5 go into 36? Well, now it's starting to get a little bit easier. I know that 5 times 5, that's an easy one. 5 times 5 is 25. I'm going to go ahead and subtract that, and I get 11. Now I can think, how many times does 5 go into 11? Well, that's even easier. I know that's 2. 5 times 2 is 10. I have 1 left. Does 5 go into 1? No, it does not. So when this number down here is smaller than this number, then I know that this is going to be a remainder, or what's left over, and I circle it. Then all I do is add these together. 10 plus 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So my answer is 17 with a remainder of 1. It's that simple. Okay, it really isn't difficult. It just is a little bit time consuming. You simply have to think, what do I already know, and help me figure out what I don't. So now we're going to go to your practice section. Okay, you can actually use your vocabulary section for this. We're going to do these together, and this time I want you to do them with me so you can get a good idea about what I'm doing. Use the numbers that are easy for you. So we have 8 into 95. I'm first going to extend my line down. I know that 8 times 10 is 80, and that'll really knock that down. So first thing I'm going to do over here is write a 10. 10 times 8 is 80. Subtract it. Well, that's 15. Well, I know that 8 times 2 is 16, so I can't use the number 2, so I have to go something smaller than 2. The only thing smaller than 2 is a 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract that. That leaves 7. Now I know that 7 is smaller than 8. So if 7 is smaller than 8, I have to circle it because that then becomes my remainder. Add these together. My answer is 11 with a remainder of 7. Okay? Pretty easy, actually. Let's go ahead and move on to this one. 7 into 63. Now, I can't use 10 because I know that 7 times 10 is 70, and that would be too much. But I do know 5. 7 times 5, that's a pretty easy one to know. So 7 times 5 is 35. I can subtract that. Let's see. 13 minus 5 is 8. So I'm down to 28. Now I do know that 7 times something is 28. Okay, if I'm not sure, I can use a different number. I could use the number 2, I could use the number 3, but I do know that 7 times 4 happens to be 28. There's 0 left. There's no remainder in this problem. All I have to do is add these two together, and my answer is 9. And I do know that 7 times 9 is 63, so it works out. Let's go on down to this one. Okay, are you starting to catch on? What would be your first estimate on how many times 6 goes into 78? Okay, many of you might be thinking 10, and that's exactly right. 10 times 6 is 60. That's going to knock that number 78 down really fast. Now I'm down to 18. Well, that makes 6 much easier to figure out. 6 goes into 18 how many times? If you know your math facts, you'll know that 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 0 remainder. I don't have anything to circle. Add these two together. And there's your answer, 13. Okay, let me slow my thinking down for this one. A little bit of a bigger number. I put 325 divided by 4. Okay, now I have to start thinking in the hundreds. I can't say 4 times 100 because that's 400 and that's too big. But why don't I just cut that in half? I can say 4 times 50. 4 times 50, I know that is 200. We can subtract that. That leaves 125. I know 4 goes into 100 25 times because I'm thinking about my quarters. That leaves me 25. Okay, I know that 4 goes into 25 5 times. That leaves me 20. So subtract that, I get 5. Well, 4 will go into 5 one more time. Subtract that, I'll get 1. 1 is smaller than 4, so that becomes my remainder. What's nice about this is that you need to use the numbers that you know. It does not matter how many numbers you put down this side. It does not matter how many times you subtract. Because no matter how you break it apart, it will always end up being the same answer if you've done your math correctly. So, I'm going to add these together. 5, 10, 11. Carry my 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. My answer is 81 with a remainder of 1. That's my answer. Okay? So as you can see, doing division really is not that difficult as long as you know your multiplication facts and as long as you can make an estimate. Your goal is to get this big number and knock it down with each and every number that you estimate over here. Make it easy on yourself. Start with numbers that you already know. Start with the 10s and the 5s and the things that are easy for you. Okay? Let's go ahead and go to the next board. This will be your opportunity to practice. So please go ahead in your practice section. Write these problems down. Now, as you can see, I've written them in the way that you're used to seeing them. I want you to go ahead and write these down just like this and then rewrite them when you go to solve them. So, you can see 75 divided by 3 is going to be written with a 3 on the outside and the 75 underneath our little bar. Okay? Same with the 256 divided by 4, 86 divided by 2, 93 divided by 6. The second number goes on the outside, the first number goes under the bar. Go ahead and solve those problems, and then of course leave me any questions that you may have. We're going to be working on this, and this is going to be practiced for a little bit, so you'll have plenty of practice. But I really want you to think, what do you already know, and how can you use that to help you solve what you don't? Okay? Get busy.